Film and television are mediums that most of us consume at a rapid pace. I know that I'm certainly guilty of binge watching countless series and film sagas, but I've noticed that people generally credit the director of, or actors in, these projects with most of the glory when they like something they've watched, and similarly lambaste an actor or director when they don't like a movie or show. However, in reality, it really does take a village to make something in either of these great mediums, and today I want to shine a light on two unsung heroes of the film world. And these absolute creative studs are Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Now, there's a decent chance that you have no idea who these two gentlemen are by just hearing their names, but I can assure you that you are most certainly familiar with their great work. They directed 21 and 22 Jump Street, are the main creatives who crafted the story of Into the Spiderverse and Across the Spiderverse, and they also wrote and directed the Legomovie. Numerous certified classics are under their belt, to say the least. And in this video, I'll be breaking down why their stories are just so damn good. Now, there's really only three fundamental purposes for a story to serve. One is to share a message of some sort, two is to teach its audience a lesson of some kind, and three is to simply entertain said audience and help pass the time in a fun way. But a really great movie will accomplish all three of these things. And I truly think Phil Lord and Christopher Miller don't get nearly enough credit for how effortlessly they hit all of these notes in their movies. I feel like a lot of creatives and writers get lost in the sauce sometimes, and focus too much on the entertainment aspect of storytelling. Some big fun spectacle can certainly garner an audience, but when it comes to crafting an everlasting, meaningful story, there needs to be substance underneath it all. Think of Deadpool and Wolverine, for example. That is a film with a ton of eye-catching visuals, you got cameo on cameo on cameo, and a lot of fun action sequences. But what message or lesson did the film really give us? While I'm sure you could scrape together some kind of surface-level meaning from that film, it's clear that a message or greater lesson wasn't something the writers of the film put an emphasis on creating. And this is why that movie was a flash in the pan, really. A film that tore through the box office and had people talking for a few weeks, but every time you rewatch Deadpool 3, it gets a little bit worse, because you know what cameos are coming now, and it just isn't as special, which puts a spotlight on the lack of greater meaning within the story and some of the plot contrivances. Now, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller also make films that are full of fun spectacle. Both Spider-Verse films and the Legomovie have a ton happening visually, but they're able to overcome this rewatch problem because the lesson that they want you to take from their work is front and center and heavily prevalent throughout. The message and/or lesson is what drives the spectacle. Rather than just using it as bait to get people to watch their movies, they craft stories with deep meaning, where the spectacle can help drive the narrative forward. Take Into the Spiderverse. The overall message of that film is to let us know that anyone can quote-unquote wear the mask. The film quite literally ends with Miles narrating this to us.
Anyone can wear the mask. You could wear the mask. If you didn't know that before, I hope you do now.
And he says this because he's come to learn that it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, or what your background is. You can always help people. He had a wildly different path to becoming Spider-Man than pretty much every other iteration of the character that he comes across. And he even has a somewhat different power set to all of them, with his invisibility and Venom Blast capability. So for a lot of the first Spider-Verse film, Miles has imposter syndrome. He's been thrown into the deep end and feels out of his depth. But when Miles takes that leap of faith in the incredible scene scored by What's Up Danger, he finally allows himself to believe that he can become his universe's Spider-Man. Of course, there will be growing pains along the way, and he'll need to learn on the job and adapt, but nobody is ever fully 100% ready for a new job or role in life. It's just all about rolling with the punches and stepping up to the plate, because being too scared to try to fill your new role is the only surefire way to ensure that you never will. The reason this lesson, in my opinion, will be everlasting is because it is so transferable to a number of transitions that many of us will face in life. Whether that be starting a new job, getting married, or even becoming a parent, any major transition you face in life will be a leap of faith, and you certainly are more than capable of fitting into your new mask as long as you're willing to give it your all. And this is the core of Into the Spider-Verse. This simple yet powerful message is what everything else is built around. And when it comes to writing, you can think of your script or story as a house, if you will. You need this base foundation to be strong and solid if you want to build an everlasting house or story that will stand the test of time. As awesome and fun as it is to see an anime Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, and Spider-Noir on the big screen, all of these characters and the intricate blending of numerous animation styles wouldn't be nearly as impactful without the core lesson being told. If Miles had some run-of-the-mill basic-ass story, then this film would be another Deadpool and Wolverine. A fun movie that made nerds like myself wild out in the movie theater, and then proceeded to get worse and worse every time you watched it, because you'd begin to realize that there's no substance underneath the flash and pizzazz. Instead, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller truly crafted one of the greatest superhero films of all time, because they hit all three checkboxes that a story can serve. Now, let me ask you all a question. Have you ever felt some sort of societal pressure to act a certain way or do something you didn't necessarily want to do? If you answered no to that question, then you can click off this video right now because I don't fuck with liars. But if you answered yes, then the Lego Movie was made for you. The central message to be taken out of the Lego Movie is an invitation to embrace creativity and individuality over blind conformity. The narrative essentially pits the boundless creativity of a child's mind against the organized and heavily structured mind of an adult. And by the end of the film, once you get to the powerful moment where Will Ferrell's character realizes he's unintentionally stifled his son's ability to be creative and have fun, you finally understand this film's lesson. It was meant to teach us that you're never too old to be in touch with your inner child. There is always room to think outside of the box and be different, to be authentically you. And this most blatantly correlates to parenthood, because this son is just trying to emulate his dad. He sees everything his father has built, and he wants to build himself. He's inspired by his father. But his dad can't see it because he's too fixated on the fact that his son is changing what he's already built. He worked his entire life to be able to buy all of these Legos so he could build them in a very particular way. But when you have a kid, it changes everything. And in a perfect world, they'll continue what you've built and make it their own. And yes, that pertains to far more than just Lego building blocks. So yet again, the Lego Movie is a massive visual spectacle with great animation and a ton happening on screen. And while the action is fun and entertaining in its own right, the reason that this movie was such a massive hit is because of the underlying core story. It's that combination of great eye-catching animation and action with a fundamentally relatable and powerful message that makes the Lego Movie. Across the Spiderverse also fits right in with this creative duo's phenomenal filmography, and the oh-so-relatable core struggle at the center of this film is balance. Both Miles and Gwen are struggling to balance their lives as superheroes with their family lives. How can they be a masked vigilante and a good daughter or son simultaneously? And by the end of the film, they both realize that the answer is honesty and transparency. Gwen comes clean to her dad about everything, and Miles at least attempts to tell his family the truth. And this struggle that both main characters deal with is so relatable because us as viewers have to do this juggling act every single day. As we battle to juggle our personal life with our work life, or school life depending on how old you are, most of us have a ton of responsibility on our plates, and keeping it all in line is really hard sometimes. But this film's overall message can maybe help ease that burden. Because when you're honest and open with those closest to you, maybe they can help share your burden or provide proper emotional and mental support. Across the Spider-Verse is perhaps the definition of visual spectacle. Even more so than its predecessor, it pushes the bounds of what an animated film could even be. There's a solid argument that it's the most beautiful animation ever put to screen. But again, this eye-catching action and style would not hit nearly as hard without a relatable and important lesson to be learned underneath it all. If you want to write at the highest level like Phil Lord and Christopher Miller do, then mastering these basic storytelling fundamentals is the key to your success. Well, if you made it this far, I'd love to hear what your favorite Phil Lord / Christopher Miller film is. Also, who are some creatives who you think don't receive nearly enough credit for their filmography? I hope you enjoyed this breakdown, and if you did, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe for more Screen Stories content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.